My theory on the Kolbrin Bible, Book 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, against the Gilgamesh epic. Since this covers 6 chapters, I will not be posting the actual verses, only give the verse numbers and what chapter it's part of. My opinions and observations on chapters 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it seems to me in a lot of ways to be retelling a version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. Chapter 5, The Birth of Hurmenator, or maybe the birth of Gilgamesh? Hanuk, son of Noah, I believe, had 3 brothers by mother and 1 by Sadara. 2 was with him on the great ship, and 1 was saved in Megin. Boca was the city ruled by Hanuk. Maybe that might be Babylon. Hanuk's sons, Labeth and Hatana, were born after the great ship became fast, which I thought might be the ark after the waters receded had landed on the mountain. Hanuk and his brothers divided the water-washed land between them. One went to found the city of Turdana on the western waters, and then the second one ruled the eastern waters and the swamps down to the waters of the sea. The last brother founded Araka, which is between the other 2 brothers' land, and it stood for 1,000 years. I thought maybe that might be Uruk, until the days of King Nadarasa. Nimrod, I thought, could be, who allowed the making of the great images, and they sacrificed children to those images. That angered the god who, using a great wind, destroyed them. I thought maybe that could be the story of the Tower of Babel. Lagada taught working of metals. He was one of the strongest of kings, and he did many deeds which were written down in books. I assume that means cuneiform books. Hurmenator was first called Hankada, and born at the city of Egelmec in the land of Caleb under Araka, which I thought could be maybe means a vassal city that deferred to Araka as their kingdom or their capital city. Hurmenator's mother's lineage, the great-great-grandfather Jagatan, who tilled the soil, the great-grandfather Damatha, who was a shepherd and a herdsman, and then the grandfather, which was Gilgimesh, which was the son of Legador, and the mother is Naturasu, and she was a maiden of the temple by Gilgimesh, who was ravished by the king, who in turn becomes the father to Hurmenator. Hurmenator's father, the king, had the same dream twice and called for interpreters from the temple of the stargazers. After 2 days they told him, "One is to be born whom you have ravished. He will be slayer of kings, destroyer of temples, and contender with the gods, and he will be against his father." The king evidently raped many women and could not think who was the mother, so called his interpreters to tell him who the mother was. They told him Naturasu, the maiden of the temple of 7 enlightened ones. They advised taking the mother out of the land to kill the child, so as not to cause misfortune on their land. That was so nice of them, I thought. Dispatching an aide telling him to kill the child in the nearby land of Kithis, he took a company of troops with the captain. And Tursu, having not given birth yet, once they reached the boundary, so they had to camp, and the troops spent time visiting, just talking with the mother. Only the aide did not talk to her. When the child arrived, it was days of the full moon, so it had to wait longer. Just isn't working out for them, is it? When time was right, the aide told the captain this is a job for men of blood, so told the captain to go across, taking his troops, kill the child, so they can swear to king that they did the job. So like the king, a great guy. Obviously, the men of the blood didn't think killing a baby was for warriors, but they had their orders, so they went. The captain could not do it, so advised the men to wait, gave them liquor, like that is a surprise, till night, put child on the donkey, caused a great commotion, in which the donkey ran away. Then captain tells the soldiers that the king would not be forgiving, and they thought of a story to tell. Chapter 6, Companionship of Yadal, or maybe the companionship of Enkidu. In Gilgamesh, a trapper is angry that someone kept setting off his traps. He searches, finding Enkidu in the epic This Is Not Gilgamesh. However, in the Kolbrin Bible, Book 2, Chapter 6, 2, the trapper is Gilgamesh, and after finding Yadal, who could be Enkidu, becomes fast friends. In 6.2, it describes Hurmenator as fast learning and teaches others at young age. And with the story of King hearing a prophecy from the three wise men and his desire to kill a child. Sounds a bit like Jesus' early years. I believe Jesus lived, and I don't think this is him, but it could be that this was used as a template to fill in the early years. Just throwing that out there. It does not change what was taught by Jesus, and I personally do not believe it matters how he was born or how he died. It was what he taught that made us care. If what he taught was useless, his death would not have mattered. In 6.4, it introduces Yadal as living in the mountains, living on herbs and wild honey. He's tall and long-haired, never having cut it. He tamed a wild wolf cub, and it was his companion. In 6.6 and 6.7, Hurmenator, after a fight, lay dying. Yadal nursed him to health. 6.8, 9, and 10 talks about the king using a woman to catch Hurmenator. The first try fails, although he did spend a few days together with her. And then he went to find Yadal. Only the wolf was there, so he returned to the woman. Second time, he agreed to come into the city, where he was treated like a guest of the king. 6.12 is the verse that showed him looking for Yadal. 6.13, 14, and 15 sees the second attempt by the woman to get Hurmenator to go to the city. 6.21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and 27. After he leaves the city with the woman, he attempts again to find Yadal, but he fails. So he and the woman goes to another city. He gets drunk, and a man attempts to force himself on the woman, who she then kills. 6.28 ends with a long story, but it ends up with the woman dead, and again he returns to find Yadal. This time he finds him, though. 6.29 seems to me Yadal and Hurmenator is a little too close, and I thought it might be more than just a friendship. However, that's just an aside. 6.30 mentions a key that is lost, but is still known in our times. I don't know what that means, I'm just mentioning it. 6.31, we rejoin the Gilgamesh storyline. This part does break a bit. In regards to Gilgamesh, it is the king who is called Gilgamesh, and Enkidu is the one to fight him. In the Kolbrin 6.35, however, Gilgamesh challenges the king and beats him. They leave after the fight. Chapter 7, Death of Yadal, has Hurmenator getting married into the family of another king of the city of Anakis. And that king is governor of the western parts of Humanis, which could be the Himalayas. Yadal dies after saving Enchedi. Enchedi is not mentioned in the Gilgamesh epic, who appears to have been chronicling this story in Chapter 7. We're on Chapter 8. Hurmenator journeys to the netherworld. Just to kind of bring everybody up to date, In the Kolbrin Bible and the Gilgamesh epic, these are the names of the people that I think might fit in with the Gilgamesh epic. Enchedi and Fermanagh does not appear to be mentioned in here. The old woman in the Kolbrin Bible looks like maybe it could be Alawaif Sedori. Hammerit sounds like the mountain of Mashu in Gilgamesh. As for Achaman, I thought that might be Utnapishtim in Gilgamesh. 823 is the old woman who seems to be drugging Hurmenator to simulate death, or could be just a vision quest. 824 talks about being taken to the mouth of the cave, and he smells foul air at the entrance. He's left there. I thought maybe that could be gases, like what was said to be at the Oracle of Delphi. 827 talks about bolted doors, unlocked only if you can answer the 7 questions, which he did have. And 829 talks about defeating 4 great beast beings, which I thought could be Apocalypse, or the 4 horsemen of the Apocalypse. Achaman in this verse seems to be called the Terrible. I thought he could be Utnapishtim, but in this case it doesn't seem to be. Why he would be called terrible, I do not know. The rest of the chapter has Hurmenator meeting Yadal and talks to him in the land of eternal living. At end, Yadal tells him since he came there before he died, he would have his life shortened. That does not say how much. Then instructs Hurmenator to write 2 books. The Sacred Secrets is the name of one of the books, and the Sacred Mysteries would be the second. The first book is also called the Book of Truth Unveiled, while the second book will be the Book of Veiled Truth, or Book of Hidden Things. In Gilgamesh, there is a partial tablet that doesn't make a lot of sense. It talks about Enkidu talking to Gilgamesh. And if this part here is accurate, and it really is about Gilgamesh, this would explain why it didn't make sense. Because in the version that is in the tablet, it talks about Enkidu talking to him after he died. Fermanagh says he watched over Hurmenator, who he feared was dead. Now, that sounds to me like he was knocked out from the drugs and the vapor, maybe also. And so he feared that he might be dead, and then he finally wakes up, and he is all healthy and well rested, so he's very happy. And I am talking about Fermanagh here. Retracing the path back to Enchedi is basically the end of the chapter. And 9 and 10 I haven't read yet, but I will probably do a part on that as well. This is only a theory, but it seems to be well founded. However, I will admit, if the Kolbrin Bible is new, then it is possible someone did a version of Gilgamesh. I will not pretend that is not a possibility.